Okay, Dane Rose here, week number 6 in the Well-Being Project. Hope you'll join me for the whole year. Creating a Sacred Space. That's this week's project, and I'd like to outline why and what kind of terrain we're dealing with. So, first of all, the word sacred. Notice that it's very close to the root word sacra, sacrifice. And the reason is not just the biblical references to altars and sacrificing and all that, but for something much more mundane. You and I have gods. Let's go over a couple of them. We have goddesses. It may be looking good. It may be feeling good. It may be having power. It may be being intelligent. It may be acquiring power. We have gods. Things that we care about, that motivate us to get out of bed, to take this class, to do this. We have curiosity. And most of the mythologies throughout history are multi-theistic, meaning they have many gods and goddesses, because this is the truth. You know, we go out and we think, ooh, discipline, one of my gods. Like, I believe in that. I want hard work. I want to succeed. Party, fun, I believe in that. I want to have fun. Which one is it going to be today? Party, the discipline, the goal, the fun, the short-term gratification, the long-term gratification. And what many mythologies have done throughout history, there have been 10,000 languages, mythologies, religions throughout human history, by the estimate of our anthropologists, is they make all of them a gods. You go to India, there's a temple of the rats. Hundreds of thousands of rats just come along and be fed by the monks. It's mind-blowing, you know, to kind of wrap your mind around what is it about that's sacred about rats. And then there's the temple of the monkeys and the tigers, and you know, you start realizing, yeah, it's just life. Depending on what's going on, you know, if you can't get up and you've got to, adrenaline is sacred. It gets you out, it gets you moving, keeps your ass alive. So the exercise for you is to figure out 3 things that are sacred for you. Now, what puts things over the edge from the mundane into the sacred is your willing to sacrifice. Now, what is sacrifice? It's death. I'm willing to die to protect this value, this deity, this experience, this person. You know, you watch some people with their iPad and they start to lose it behind. So they don't touch my iPad. And they go into a frenzy. Well, their iPad is sacred. That's it. Put it down. Identify 3 things that you're willing to go to extraordinary efforts. Maybe it's your hair. You know, we all in different cultures honor different things. We are a very materialistic culture, and so one of the highest gods in our culture is money and things. Your car may be the most sacred thing in your life as a member of a materialistic culture. For the Indians, in this temple, it's rats. In another temple, it's monkeys. What will you sacrifice for? Is it your little sister? Is it your mother? Is it not making your parents feel bad? What is it? And there are the dark sacrifices. I will not tell the truth, because what's sacred is making my dad feel good about himself. And if I tell the truth about what a shitty parent he is or was, he's not going to get that. So he is sacred. His feeling of being a great parent is sacred. So these are the dark sacrednesses. I want you to identify 3 of each. I've just changed my mind. Pick 3 dark things. I can never let my girlfriend know this. She'd kill me. She wouldn't understand. It would ruin me. I could never deal with it. So these are the secrets that we protect with our lives, meaning that secret starts to surface and we rush to the attic and burn photographs. We go to the shredder. We delete the email files. We rush around. We avoid. We come up with elaborate lies and alibis. These are sacred things. Because while the church and any different demographic is always getting us to try and say, this man who nailed here 2,000 years ago, that's sacred. Your iPad, none of that matters. What matters in terms of this question is not what anyone else thinks. What matters is what you will sacrifice for. Will you sacrifice to protect your image? Will you sacrifice to advance in your career? Will you sacrifice to make more money? Will you sacrifice to wear a better pair of clothes? And what will you sacrifice? What's the line? What will you give up for that which is sacred? Will you tell a lie? Will you steal? Will you... And typically speaking, we have the dark sacred. Okay, my boss is embezzling this and that and the other. I've caught him. And I'll get a $100,000 bonus if I shut up about it. And money is sacred. And so what I'm sacrificing is my honor, my truth, my example to my children. So these are what I'm sacrificing to gain this thing that is sacred to me, money. This might be called dark sacrificing, because when we ask, well, what's important? Who do we want to be? Do we want to be dishonest? Do we want to betray other people for a bribe? No, that's not who I want to be. But the truth is, money matters a bit more. Power matters a bit more. Looking good matters a bit more. Not being shamed matters. A lot of what is sacred is fear. The more fear-based we are as human beings, the more fear is sacred. I will do anything at all not to feel terror. I will not go on a date with a great man because it brings up fear. My fear is more sacred than my opportunity. So you kind of get the sense what gets given up for what. And you see that happens on a positive level. It's like I really know I've got it in me to do this marathon. But I want to addict on sugar, and I can't do both. And the addiction wins. The marathon is given up. For the sacredness of feeling good in the face of my fear, in the face of my discomfort, protecting dark feelings, protecting memories from coming to light. So let's just make sure we have the idea. You're looking for 3 things. You're looking for 3 things in your life today. You're already doing it. We worship all the time. We just worship at the altar of our fear and unconsciousness rather than in a more conscious way. We're looking for 3 things. 3 areas where we've given up something valuable that we believe in, to protect something shadowy that feels more comfortable. I believe in standing up for bullied children. I just don't like being humiliated myself, and I knew if I stood up for this kid, I would be. It's painful. So I'm sacrificing my principle for protecting my fear of pain. Okay, that would be one of the items. I know my daughter wants to talk to me. It's a very difficult conversation. She's waiting patiently. She deserves to know, but I've procrastinated again. I'm sacrificing the honor and truth of my daughter to feel good. These are the dark sacrifices. And then the light ones. What is worth dying for? And by dying, I just mean a part of ourselves. If you've got a $100,000 bank account and you're willing to spend $50,000 to protect this value, to bail your mother out of hospital, to pay off a kidnapper's ransom, whatever it is, to protect your child's life, that's a sacrifice. You no longer have the life of a $100,000 bank account. You now have the life of a $50,000 bank account. You have weakened voluntarily some area of who you are, your money, your body, your strengths. When you rush into a burning building to protect someone you care about, and you lose an arm to burns, that's a sacrifice. You're telling yourself, not leaving a loved one in a burning building is worth dying for. It's sacred. I am willing to risk sacrifice and, if necessary, experience sacrifice because this is important to me. Now, this is everywhere. A man who loses weight to be attractive, to have sex with a girlfriend he's in lust with, or vice versa, we're giving up the comfort, the protection of that fat and that addiction. To pursue something that's important to us, that we believe in. We believe that being in shape is better. We believe that we'll be happy with this. So we're talking about belief here. And there's no judgment. Sex is the number one thing in your life. Be honest about it. And can you pursue that goal sacredly in a way that challenges you to be more, or is it a dark goal, meaning I'm willing to lie for it? I'm willing to betray who I am for that. Or is it a light goal, meaning I'm willing to be in shape, I'm willing to challenge myself more, I'm willing to learn how to communicate, I am willing to become more, to honor this goal, this area of my life. And this is why sacred and sacrifice is so important. We're dealing with transcendence. Here's what you see before me. And I'm in the state that I'm in. There's lots I don't know. There's lots I can't do. There's lots I'm failing at. But if I set my mind on something that is so important to me that I'm willing to overcome that I'm willing to change my body, learn the skill in order to succeed at this, this is a sacred act. This is a transcendent act. I'm giving up who I was to become the one who can do this. This is what makes, for example, a marathon a sacred activity. It's what makes a business a sacred activity. I don't like getting up at 8 a.m. I don't like getting this. I don't like any of this. I don't like listening to these clients argue. I don't like any of that. But my dream of providing exceptional service, of getting a 5 out of 5 Google rating or Yelp rating or whatever. That my dream of excellence is so important to me that I don't press snooze, that I do get out, that I do prepare, that I excel and go to the top of my field. This is sacred terrain. We're dealing with ideals. It could be excellence. It could be making someone happy. It could be being honorable. We must have these things as conscious things that we honor in our life. And again, if you're a materialist, honor it. Make the Maserati, the iPad, the $5,000 gaming computer. Make it sacred. Make it something that you're willing to become more, to engage with, to create, to become. That's what makes it sacred. If you've got $1 billion trust fund and you just throw it out, there's no sacred in that. You haven't sacrificed. You have not become more in order to create this. And there's limitless goals out there. There's limitless dreams out there. And we all have a different set point. We all have a different starting point. You know, for some people in deep trauma and abuse and this and that and the other, just to feel positive about themselves for the day, it requires transcendence. They've got to become a different person. They've got to learn to think and do da-da-da-da-da-da, and just one day of feeling okay with themselves is a sacred act. They have to sacrifice the familiar. All I've known is this. All I've done is this. This feels uncomfortable. I don't know who this is. I don't know if I'll succeed. It's the journey out into the dark wood. The dark wood of the unknown, which is sacred if you value potential. Meaning 99.9% of everything that exists is in that terrain of the unknown unknown. 99.9% of everything that exists is in that box or paradigm or category of that which is not only not known, but is not known that it is not known. It's that unfamiliar. Just remember, we're one of 10,000 tribes, 10,000 cultures, 10,000 languages, at a speck of a speck of a speck of a 15 billion year history on one planet with only 5 senses to perceive it. You know what that means? That means your eyes see 0.01% of the light spectrum, and then there's infinite degrees of spectrum above what the eyes can see and below the eyes can see. So even in the spectrum of light, what we call light, we see 0.01% of it. The whole rest of the spectrum doesn't exist for us, and we don't know that we don't know it. We are minuscule. And so the dark wood, the unknown, the mystery, the dread, going beyond the pale in the old Irish mythology, beyond the wall of the known, into those wild hedonists, those wild, untamed tribes, is going into the unknown, traveling around the world and learning how different people do this and that. It's going into the unknown. And it's sacred if you value potential. Meaning, if we're going to have an exponential evolutionary cycle in which we evolve 1,000% over our current state, which is not terribly hard, it's going to come from the unknown. It's not like we already know all this stuff. No. It's going to come from the unknown. So here's part number 1. What's your dark sacred? What are you giving up that you value to protect your fear, to protect your shame, to protect your secrets? What are those 3 things? And what's really important to you? Is it the Lamborghini? Is it that amazing blonde? Is it that handsome stud? Is it, I made my dad proud? I'm willing to become something I didn't know I could be because I wanted to make my father proud? What is sacred? What will you sacrifice for? This is the mental part. What I'd like you to do next is a physical element of that. We are heart, mind, and body. They're tightly integrated. One of the ways that our unconscious mind knows that something is important to us is when we act. You think we believe when we say, oh, starving children are so important, and we're not feeding a single one, we're not giving any money, we're not learning, we're not talking to a single one, we're not talking to a government, we're not talking to a head of state, we're not giving to a... But they're really, really important? No. What we do is how we honor the sacred. If you want to know what's sacred to you, look at what you do. I can't wait to watch this TV show because then I can veg everything out. And I don't feel that hollow ache in my stomach for 2 hours. Okay. So addiction is sacred. Avoiding that hollow ache is worth sacrificing. I will sacrifice my career, my life, my relationship to avoid that hollow feeling. Avoiding that hollow feeling is sacred to me because that's what I do. So what we actually want to do is make the process conscious. We're not judging it. Couch potato is sacred? Great. But the altar is where we honor the sacred. And it's actually a symbology. It's giving up. You know, I'm in Thailand right now, and everyone has an altar. And they give the Buddha Coca-Cola. They like Coca-Cola. So they give a Coca-Cola can to the Buddha, some water, some this. In other words, they go through the ritual, the symbology of weakening their mundane reality, of taking an action, spending a few baht to buy a Coke that says, this is to honor my ideal. I want to become more balanced. I want to become more at peace. I want to become more compassionate. So I'm going to feed that part. I'm going to take time to reflect on that. I'm going to make sure that everything in me knows that this is sacred. I'm going to make this little place beautiful. I'm going to take time. I'm going to take effort. I'm going to pray. I'm going to believe. And I will be more compassionate. This is honor. Now, I know from experience, there's some interesting statistics in my life. There's a lot of women out there that want a great relationship. Very interestingly, the women that I've connected with, a disproportionate amount of them have had a relationship altar where they've become really conscious. So I come along in their world and they spot a possibility. And see, an altar is about sacrifice. And it is a sacrifice. It takes energy and time and risk and uncertainty to go and meet and get to know a new person. It is a sacrifice. You don't know if it's going to pay off. It requires you doing uncomfortable, awkward, unknown things to enter an unknown terrain. But these women with relationship altars are much more motivated to do that. And it's that, like from my perspective, I don't pick women with relationship altars. I pick women who are showing up to know and be known, who value the possibility a great relationship represents. Because I know relationships are sacred to me. And I do my altar in different ways. I write books, I study books, I practice exercises, I go to workshops, I do therapy to be exceptional, in relationship. I do uncomfortable things. I go into pain to grow more than I did before. Because a good, conscious relationship is sacred. Now, I haven't had an altar much of the time, but I do now. And here's my guidelines for altars. You need a space. A space. Now, this could be a sacred book, scrapbook. This could be a sacred folder. This could be a sacred chalkboard. Like this could be a sacred thing. But you want to prepare the space in a way that allows you to sacrifice, that allows you to spend time, money, attention, thought to grow it. Because this is the symbolic ritual. Anything you create in this world is an act of giving something of yourself. Your money, your time, your goodwill, your social credit, whatever it is, giving something of yourself to create it. You want to go get that Lamborghini? You're going to have to give a lot to yourself to give value to a lot of people to make that money, unless you're unfortunate enough to inherit it all, because you miss the opportunity of intimacy when it's given to you. You learn about sacred with the sacrifice. If you got $1 billion and you buy the latest Note 8 phone or whatever, the Note series is my favorite, it doesn't do much. But when it's a sacrifice, it's like I could go to the beach, I could help 1,000 starving children with $1, I could do this, and this is sacred to me. I want this. See, we learn about ourselves when we have to choose. I could be honest with my wife. I could get a divorce. But honesty and intimacy is not sacred to me. Sexual variety is, so I won't. I'll just see if I get caught. Because what's sacred to me is not honesty or intimacy, it's sexual variety. Because I had to choose, and this is what I chose. What does that mean? What's involved? We learn about ourselves by what we betray and what we honor. And we honor what we're willing to change, ourselves, the world, the reality, etc., in order that this happens. That's what's sacred. So what you want in your altar is you want to create a space where you can sacrifice. Now, sacrifice is not miserable when you truly honor something. When you love your daughter, and it takes $200 to get her the finest gym wear, this and that and the other, and the best trainers, because you love seeing her run, and this and that, and she loves running. This is a sacrifice. You have to work hard for that $200. And you see her excelling. This is a joy. The true sacrifice is not martyrhood. It's a joy. It's a feeling I'm willing to die for this. I'm willing to give of what I have so that this is more. It's honor. I'm honoring this part of myself, this part of the world, by doing this because I believe in it, because I love it, because I care about it more than I care about the me I currently am. It's beautiful. By a space in which you can sacrifice, I mean paper that you can write goals. Goals are sacred. You have to give up something to achieve your goals. You need a space to write them, and a place that honors them. That, if beauty is sacred to you, it isn't for some people. For some people, it's just get it done. I don't care what it looks like. Okay, beauty is not sacred to you. But if beauty is sacred to you, create a beautiful place to write your goals. A place you can write your goals. A place you can have your dreams. A place, if your right brain is sacred to you, meaning you care about the visual and imagination as much as just checking it off a list, then you've got to have a place for images. So it could be a montage board. If privacy is sacred to you, a sense of knowing yourself and being alone, then it has to be an altar that is sacred in its discretion, in its secrecy. Or if being seen and celebrated is important to you, it needs to be in a place where people can see it. If honoring the altar is important to you, you need to teach people in your life how to honor it. Here's how you can honor my altar. Here's how you can honor the fact that I have an altar. Are you willing to learn how to do this? And how do you do it? You tend it. You don't have to feed the altar cokes or bits of sweets, but let yourself know that you're growing this through your actions. Review it. How am I doing? Celebrate the successes. Experience the pain of failure. I had this down, a marathon. And when it came to it, I did not want to sacrifice the discomfort of winning this marathon. So I didn't do the work. I didn't prepare, and I didn't show up. I am not willing to sacrifice for a marathon. Is truth honorable and sacred to you? Then tell that truth. Was it a dark thing? Was there something? Or was it just, I just didn't want to face it. Seinfeld isn't really more important than this, but that's what I chose to do. Drinking is not transcendent, but I spent the money on drinking and drugs. Why? What's going on there? You get to know deep intimacy in what we do and why. And when we see what's going on, is what we see in our truth sacred enough to go and get help, to join a 12-step program, to get a gym membership, or hopefully not the gym, take a walk. Right? We want to be able to measure, we want to be able to feed the sacred, we want to be able to celebrate the sacred. Hooray! I sacrificed my body to make the money to give this to my daughter. And now she's running. Now she's gaining confidence. And I get to see her beauty every day. It's a sacred journey. Or, I bought her off. She's not important to me. I just gave her whatever she wanted. Because what's really important to me is I want to look good to this CEO. I want my dad's validation in him. That's what I want. If I do this and do this, I'll get it. And that's what I want. That's what I'm willing to sacrifice for. And I never wanted kids. I don't care if I'm married or not married. I want this. Be honest. Be honest. What will you sacrifice? What will you give up? And if you're at peace with that, escalate it. If you're at peace with your choices and who you are and who you're becoming, what you're giving up to get, escalate it. If you're not, it's one of the most challenging things as a human being we can possibly do, how to integrate the part that is not at peace with this, the part that says, no, this is not a good father, and the part that says, I don't care. How do they talk to each other? This is where we either integrate and become great in some capacity, or we splinter and never reach our potential. One part of us wants this, another part wants this, another part wants this, and they all just spend a lifetime fighting each other without any integration, without any resolution. The altar is a focal point for that conversation. So make an altar. Identify 3 things that are sacred on the dark side, things that you worship with your actions, with your money, with your time, that you don't believe in, but you do anyway, out of fear, out of guilt, out of panic to avoid pain, out of addiction. 3 hours, or 3 things that you truly honor and are willing and are sacrificing, that are taking you where you want to go. Let me know how you're doing. It's a very big honor if you allow me to influence anything in this terrain, because I believe that this terrain, it is sacred to me. I believe that it is in this terrain that we decide on some level, is the lifetime meaningful? It's just a waste of time. What is sacred? What will we sacrifice? How does that jive?